Good morning, App Properties. It's Amy Corr, and it's Tuesday, March 24th, and thank you for joining us for another session of Coffee and Productivity with Kevin and Amy.
Hi, Amy. Good morning. We've got our coffee ready. Hi, everyone else. Hopefully you have your coffee, tea, or lemon water. Today, our daily topic is going to be about data. And so we've talked in the past, we've talked about where to find information, but we haven't talked specifically about where to pull data to be able to communicate with your clients. So today we're going to look at where you can get some good data with the resources we have, and then how to communicate it and share it with your clients.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So the first thing that I wanted to really talk about and touch on today was KCM. Many of you may have heard of this resource before. It's called Keeping Current Matters, and the gentleman who runs it, his name is Steve Harney out of New York on the East Coast, and it's actually a resource that we used quite a bit back after the 2008 recession, as we as brokers were looking for a lot of great information and data to share with our clients. So I'd really encourage you to explore taking a look at this as a resource. It is something that you have to pay for, the subscription. It's $24 a month, but with that, they actually give you monthly information. There's actually monthly slideshows that you can use and take a look at and even share information with your clients. But what Steve and his group did on Friday is they actually hosted a webinar that had information about what we're looking at real time right now in regards to the coronavirus. And they had a great session. It was about 35, almost 40 minutes long. And there were really 4 questions that they were focusing on. The first one was, with the stock market falling so greatly, what kind of impact will this have on home prices? The second thing that they really focused on is, are we heading towards another recession? We heard a lot of things. Goldman Sachs is saying that we think in Q2 we're going to start seeing signs of a recession. They're anticipating that hopefully it will be a V-shaped recession, which means it will hit fast and we will recover quickly, unlike the U-shaped recession that we had seen from 2008, which took us years to recover. The third question that they talked about in this webinar is, will prices drop as a result of this pandemic? And what are we now hearing is going to really happen in relation to pricing nationwide? And then the fourth thing that they talk about is, will we see people losing their homes like we did in 2008? So what we're going to share with you as we wrap up from today and we send this email out to you are some of the great slides and information and data that was shared from that session. But I would encourage you to check it out if you're interested in it. We'll send the link, but it has some really nice information that I think you can share with your clients, great data points showing how what we're seeing right now has compared to some of the events that we've seen in history and in the past.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. And KCM is something some of us may be familiar with. We used it a ton during the downturn when Steve Harney was providing information during that time that we could share with our clients. So definitely a good resource to look into. We have resources here at App Properties too, and we're all familiar, I hope, with the at-home report. And that's effectively the seller report that goes out to our sellers weekly by default, and then you can change or modify the frequency that it goes out. But what I want to specifically show you today is the web stat. And the web stats are important because right now we know that people are spending a lot of time at home. They're on the computer surfing. And when this report goes out to your clients, it's going to show them the web stats, not only on appproperties.com, but the information we receive from Realtor and Zillow and Trulia. So I'm going to share my screen. You're going to be able to take a look here and see what I'm looking at. I'm using a real-life example of a listing here at App Properties, and hopefully Michael and Lena aren't upset with me. But here we go. So we're looking at this at-home report for 1032 Wesley. And along the right-hand side here, what you can see is the stack. And these are things that you can control when you go to edit the content in the digital presentation. So over here are the web stats. And so you can, as we know, you can reorder where they go. But when this goes out to you, the day before it goes to your clients, the best practice would be to come into the web stats and view what it's saying. And the reason being is you never want to be unprepared to answer questions for your clients. When they click in, or when you click in to view the full web stats, you can see day by day for App Properties, Zillow, and Trulia. Hover over and see what those views are. And here's the caveat, is that here in this case, you can see that on this day, on March 5th, This property had 3 views on App Properties, 52 views on Zillow, and 7 on Trulia. Why did it spike at Zillow on March 5th? No idea. Unless maybe you have an idea that something changed within the listing, maybe there was a price reduction, maybe something happened that bumped that listing up. But if you don't know of any of those changes, we can't explain it either. But this information here is important to be able to show that you are still creating exposure on the web for your clients. The other thing that we'll be able to show up here in the right-hand side of the stack, if you have an AdWorks campaign running, you can add it through the editing the digital content that I showed. You can add it here so that instead of receiving the email that is sometimes confusing, it will show the number of AdWorks impressions and the number of AdWorks click-throughs from the ad that is being created. And that will show up if your property is over 350 for the first week of the listing. And after the first week of the listing, if you extend the campaign, that will continue to show up. If you don't have a campaign running, it will disappear like we're seeing here. So when we're talking about the at-home reports, I think I want to recap is just always be sure that you know what you're sending out. Some of us are different. Some of us review the at-home report diligently, and we add the specific comps each week and look at it before it goes to our clients. That's great. If you don't do that, that's okay too. Just always be certain that you understand what you're sending to your clients so that you're not confused when they ask questions about what you sent them.
Thanks, Kevin. So one of the other things that we wanted to run through with you today is what you can find on the MLS, and it's actually called the Hot Sheet. We referenced this, I think, last week in regards to how to find real-time, great information data off of the MLS that shows you what's happening in the market, and it allows you really to kind of keep your clients in the loop on what we're seeing. So I'm going to actually go ahead and share my screen now. Hopefully this will work okay. And bear with me for 1 second. There we go. Kevin, can you see what I need to show on the MLS? Okay, great. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is if you're on the MLS, you're going to go ahead and click onto the search tab, and you're going to obviously choose whether or not you're looking for a detached single family, attached, multi-unit. You're going to select the type that you're looking for. And then over on the left-hand side where you've got the search type, you can go down to the 4th option, and it's called the Hot Sheet. And when you click onto this, what it's going to allow you to do is to be able to pull down to a total of 14 days previous than today's date and be able to just take a really quick look at what's happening in a particular market. So what I'm going to do, you can also do specific days back up to 14. I'm going to take a look at the last 4 days. And it's going to allow me to look at all of the statuses. So I'm going to actually keep all of my statuses in the bar right here. And then actually you can pull property type in here as well. So detached, attached, 2 to 4 units. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put in 91, which is the Wilmette market, which is where I'm sitting right now as we speak. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at the results. Please note you can also put in a particular price range if you want to, or you can also take a look at a particular office if you want to see what's happening in a particular office for a particular time frame. So I'm going to go ahead and view results. And what this gives me is a really quick snapshot of what we're seeing in the last 4 days in Wilmette. And why we are finding that this is so imperative right now is as we're trying to indicate to any of our sellers or buyers what is happening as we are trying to navigate through this pandemic. The big question is there still activity? So when you take a look here, in the last 4 days, we've had 3 properties go contingent in Wilmette, and that's detached single-family homes. If I move down, we can actually see that 5 detached single families have just been listed on the market within the last 4 days. Another thing to really take a look at right now, as we are anticipating or seeing some of the changes real time in relation to the coronavirus, look at how many properties went from active to temporarily no showings. We have a total of 12 here. And I will tell you, there are a lot of agents that have reached out to me and have asked, do we take our property off of active and move it to temp? here's the thing that you need to think about. If you are moving it to temp, it is not necessarily going to be picked up by all the syndicated sites. So if you are moving it over to that status, you may not get the online traffic or activity that you are really needing right now when people are not able to get out and look at homes. Also keep in mind that if you keep your property active on the MLS, but you are not able to show it due to the coronavirus, you will not get penalized. The MLS is comfortable, and MRED is comfortable with having you say that you are not going to be able to show it, but are still going to keep it active. So I'd really encourage you and your sellers to talk through the strategy that makes the most sense for you right now. The other thing that you can take a look at is also how many listings have recently gotten canceled in your market. Taking a look at this will really help your sellers make some good decisions on whether or not they should be moving forward right now. You know, as Fad had said yesterday, I think it's really important to stay the course, because right now, as people are sitting home, they're not in a position where they are able to get out and look. So they're going to be looking at things online. So think about that. But this is a great resource and a great report for you to be able to use. And you can run it every single day. So I'd really encourage you to check this out as a great resource for you and being able to have a conversation with your clients.
That's great. Thanks, Amy. So we've gone through so far the at-home reports. Well, we talked about KCM. We went through the at-home reports, went through hot sheets. And I can't stress enough what Amy said. The hot sheets are super easy to pull and really informative. It takes how long, Amy? 7 seconds. So let's look at something else that's available in MRED through the MLS as well, and that's InfoSparks. So I'm going to share my screen again so you can see where I go when we go there. And so I'm in MRED in the dashboard, and the important note here is that you can modify each one of these widgets and where they are. So yours may not be in the same place as mine, but in the middle here we have tools, resources, and links, and you can click on InfoSparks right here. And when it opens up into a dashboard where you can enter in information to search. So the first thing I want to point out before we go into the detailed information, though, is there is a tab at the top here called Reports. And you may be familiar with the App Properties market reports that we send out. This is exactly where we go to get these reports that we then brand. And it takes you, when you click Reports, into the fast stats. And it is fast. Here's how it works. You choose the area you want to search for. So let's just say we're doing Westtown. So I'm going to do 8024. I click View Report, and when I click it, it opens up the report that I want to view just like this. I can print this. I can save it or download it, send it as a PDF. Whatever it may be, but now you have some really quick information on what's going on in that neighborhood. Now, my recommendation is, and what I always say, there's a lot of information in this sheet. If you are going to sit down with someone, whether it's a real estate review or you're sending it to them digitally to be able to talk through what's happening in their community or neighborhood, focus on a few key points. Don't go line by line through new listings under contract, closed sales, median sales price, average sales price, percent. Do you see? You want to focus on a few key points that are really relevant to them, the decision they're making, if they're making one, and what they might find interesting. Otherwise, you will put them to sleep. So if we go back now to the main dashboard in InfoSparks, what I've done already to save time is in the upper left-hand corner, I've chosen the neighborhood. So I put in Westtown in Chicago, 8024 in the MLS. And then the other thing I've done is I've also created a custom range of prices. And so this is something you can do as well. So it varies by market. So for example, Amy, if she's in Wilmette, she may bump this up to $500,000 increments to be able to see what's happening in each one of those price ranges. In this case, I've got 250 to 5 to 750, you can see here. Now, down below what I've got is the graph, and this graph is dynamic based on what I choose. So let's keep going across the top and see what happens. Right now, what I have are all of these price ranges checked. So effectively, the data that's showing was every property within 250 plus in Westtown, and all property classes, all property types. What I want to show here that you're able to do is I can choose one of those price ranges. So if I just wanted to see 250 to 500, I can see the data down below. Or something that's really, really helpful is that if you add all of the price ranges and we click the arrows up here next to custom, it's going to break out each one of those price ranges in the same graph so you can see what's happening in each one of those price ranges. Now, before we go into the specific selection of metrics down at the very bottom, one of the things I want to show here is that you have the ability to show or toggle between either a line graph or a bar graph. And sometimes the bar graph is easier to view when you're explaining to clients. The line graph has a lot of data. It's got a lot of data points. You can see trends, which is really helpful. But in this case, you're also able to see a side-by-side comparison of what's happened. And then, of course, to the right, you can toggle how the length of time or period of time you wanted to view, and then the delta, the difference, the amount of time for each data point, between each data point. So let's go all the way to the bottom here. We can see that we have sales price all the way through month supply. And month supply is what we're on right now. Month supply we feel is really important to be able to show because that's what really shows and gives us the answer when we ask what type of market is it. Now, some of you may know, and we've talked about this in the past, that a balanced market is anywhere between 4.5 to 6, 4 to 6 months supply of inventory. Anything less than that is typically a seller's market, and anything more than that is typically a buyer's market. And what's interesting in the graph we're seeing here is you can see in the $250,000 to $500,000 price range in Westtown, there's not a lot of inventory. This really is a seller's market. It means things are happening here. And if we go into the $1 million plus, you can see we're up above 7 and have been for the last several years. So what that tells us is that in that market in Westtown for $1 million plus properties, it really is a buyer's market. So hopefully you can come into InfoSparks. Remember, you can't break anything. You can't screw anything up. What I would highly suggest is you come in and you see how to use InfoSparks and start playing around with it. And even better yet, MRED holds virtual InfoSparks classes that you can take to learn how to use it to be able to show your clients exactly what you need to.
Thanks, Kevin. Yep, InfoSparks is a great resource. I've been using it, for years with agents, and, month supply of inventory is great. Also really trending and taking a look at under contract and closed sales, I think right now is a really great thing to take a look at. And then also homes for sale. It really is showing you, are things moving up and are more homes coming on the market in certain pockets? And then how fast are we absorbing those homes as far as under contract and closed? So just great resources for all of you guys to use. The other things that we wanted to reference or let you know that we had available for you are some historical reports. Both NASBAR and Corr have compiled from 1980 and moving forward historical information on each and every community. And it might just be something that is a really great reference point for all of you, especially as you want to take a longer term span and sight into what's happening and what happened during some of those recession periods or those economic stressful periods in the market, and just sort of see how they trended. So what we're going to send to you is the historical report from NASBAR. It includes total number of units year by year. It'll show you average price, median price. It's also going to show you appreciation year over year, whether it increased or decreased. And again, you're going to be able to see some of the trending, particularly, I think, in those year blocks like 2006 to 2009. You can also look back at the early 2000s where there was the dot-com boom and see, or the dot-com bust, and just sort of see how that impacted the market. Corr also has a similar reporting, and we're going to include that for you as well. It's a download from, I believe, 1980 through to 2019. And again, just shows you information on units sold, year over year pricing changes. It breaks down each neighborhood in Chicago, and then it will also show all of the suburban markets as well. So just great resources. We wanted to make them available to you. You can log on if you're a member of NASBAR or Corr, but we thought we'd make it easy and simply download them so that they are at your fingertips. So when we send our email out with this video, you're going to see a bunch of attachments, and those are included.
Yeah, that's awesome. And those reports are great. In fact, Rick Sobin, who many of you know, he gets excited. I've never seen him more excited than at the end of the year when they send out these annual reports. So if you want to ask him about it, feel free. But otherwise, take a look at those reports. Take a look at everything that we've covered today. Amy and I, a lot of great tips on where to find the data, how to explain it, what to look for. But moving forward, what we'd really love to hear from you are more suggestions and feedback on topics. We've got some things lined up in terms of speaking with title company and lenders and attorneys. But we'd love to hear from you because we want to make sure that we're covering what you need. So send that to atcoaching@properties.com. Again, that's @coaching@properties.com. And we'll see you tomorrow for coffee. Thanks, Amy.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.